A year ago, a massive earthquake hit the city of Padang here in Indonesia. Over 1,000 people died as a result. Homes and lives were destroyed. Now, experts are predicting an even bigger quake could hit this region at any time. I'm Fauzia Ibrahim. On this edition of 101 East, we ask if Indonesia is prepared for its next natural disaster. Indonesia is known to be the most natural disaster-prone country in the world. And this city of Padang is especially vulnerable as it sits on an active fault line. And yet the fatalities from last year's earthquake was as much blamed on human error as it was on the natural disaster itself. AMBROSE reports.
RINA, West Sumatra's disaster manager, can see the scars from last year's earthquake even before leaving the office. His agency survived the 7.6 magnitude tremor, but 100,000 buildings around Padang collapsed and 1,100 people were killed.
Ternyata dari studi hasil riset.
From our observations and research, what killed and injured people here was not the earthquake, but unsafe buildings. We've got to build safer buildings.
This family saw firsthand how unsafe Padang's buildings are. ROSMIYATI was playing here with her children when the earthquake hit, mere metres from her grandmother's house.
Kayak orang bunyinya bom di pantai.
There was a loud noise like a bomb. Water was spilling out of the well. And my children were running towards me for safety when the big tremors happened. And then I remembered my grandmother.
Rushing in, she found her grandmother crushed to death under a fallen brick wall. Rubble remains as a sorrowful reminder. But ROSMIYATI is determined to rebuild her own house properly as she waits for government funding in this Red Cross shelter.
Rumah anti gempa supaya anak-anak nyaman ketika waktu saat nanti gempa.
Everybody wants safety for themselves. I want a house that's foolproof from the earthquake so that we can stay permanently forever with my family.
Earthquake educator Jason Brown was part of an international team that examined 4,000 collapsed houses.
We found foundation work was poor, and basically the other really important one is the roof wasn't connected to the rest of the structure. So when you get an earthquake, you had a roof moving one way, you had walls moving another way and foundations moving another way. It's a recipe for disasters.
Villagers learned from Jason how to rebuild quake-resilient houses using concrete columns tied to the roof with steel. Safeguarding Sumatra's buildings is crucial because seismologists predict a larger 8.9 magnitude quake could hit within a decade.
The particular area around Padang, if we look back in time, we can see there have been almost identical type of events to those that are happening now back in time, 1797 for example, and we can go further back in time as well and see the previous times this has happened. And so it's not like we're saying, oh, this might happen or something like that. We know it does.
An early warning system monitors activity along a 5,000 kilometre fault line where tectonic plates grind together, triggering big undersea earthquakes such as the Asian tsunami every 200 years. Padang sits right near the only part of the fault where tectonic pressure continues to build. Professor James GOFF is among a number of international experts who predict a tsunami will follow the quake.
They say the land is being pulled downwards as the Australian plate is being forced down underneath the Sunda plate, And then suddenly what will happen is eventually that plate will say, I've had enough of this, and it bounces back up again. And that's what happened in 2004. It's what happened in 2005. And that whole bouncing back up again is happening on the sea floor. So suddenly the sea floor will go up 5 meters, will go up 10 meters.
A tsunami could hit these shores in 10 to 15 minutes because of Padang's proximity to the predicted earthquake epicentre. So authorities need a swift evacuation plan for the 1 million residents here, as a third of the population live right along the coastline. R.A. Edward wants coastal communities to embrace vertical evacuation. The 3-storey school is the first building made for this purpose. 15,000 people can flee up to the roof from the tsunami. Though he concedes there's a lack of appropriate building material and a dependence on foreign donors to make these buildings.
Hopefully next year there will be about 6 units of these escape building coming from international donations. For now, we have 1. Soon, every public building such as schools and hospitals will be next.
And the government official responsible for infrastructure believes 40 buildings are required for vertical evacuation to work here. So far, they can only finish 1 building a year.
We need some place to be free for building some vertical evacuation building, okay? But if you know, all the place along the coastal area is very dense. A lot of people live there. So I think this is the very hard work for the city government.
Fleeing by foot along evacuation roads is currently the only viable escape route out of Padang. However, only 2 of the 4 roads are built, and if clogged with cars, they could be death traps. Of more concern, the provincial government says this road system will take a decade to complete.
Based on the situation right now, considering the budget of the government, considering the situation of the land to be free for set up or to complete their own infrastructure, I think it takes at least 10 years to complete all the infrastructure for anticipate the tsunami, okay? I think I am the infrastructure man, okay? If you're talking about infrastructure, it takes time. If you are talking about infrastructure, we're not talking about 1 month or 2 years, okay? We're talking about 5, 10, or 20 years.
One grassroots NGO, KOGAMI, who educate about disaster preparedness, say only 40% of communities are ready, as many people don't understand the basics of the tsunami warning systems currently in operation.
We only have 1 big siren from BMG, and that cannot cover all the people in Padang, only about 700-meter radius. And also we have 9 small sirens, and also cannot cover all the city. And also people cannot differentiate the sound of siren with the ambulance siren.
The organisation run disaster simulations at 30 schools. They urgently want to roll it out across the province, but for the last 18 months, they've had to wait for government approval.
We still have 230 schools don't have this program. And even though like international NGO or UN agency give us funding, but that's like limited, you know, so we have to go to maybe 10 schools for each funding. So that's very limited and take long time.
Dr. Febrin Anas Ismail, an earthquake engineer with expertise in disaster management, believes all levels of government remain reactive to natural disasters. Tougher building codes, more community awareness programs and upgrades to existing buildings are all immediate approaches that could be adopted now.
If we can make some strengthen or retrofit the existing one, I think we can make as the vertical evacuation. So in this case, government should support this concept.
Otherwise, he fears that Padang will be ground zero to a disaster bigger than Aceh.
500,000 people stay in red zone. This is under 5 meters from the mean sea level. To transfer this 500,000 in time, to a safe area, I think if it's coming within 5 years, almost impossible.
Ade Edward is also aware that the clock is ticking, but he says it will all come back to funding from the Indonesian government.
Memang karena keterbatasan.
Every year there is limited budget allocation. We don't only organize the mitigation or disaster management. At the national level, the budget allocation for this is still very low.
It's little solace for victims still shaken from last year. With the shore a 5-minute walk from her house, ROSMIYATI has grave doubts that Padang is ready.
Authorities say look to the sea, and when the tide is out, prepare for a tsunami. We will try to save ourselves by running, but I'm scared because there are no big buildings around here.
Coming up after the break, we find out if Indonesia is prepared for its next natural disaster. Stay with 101 East. And welcome back to 101 East. This week we come to you from the city of Padang in Sumatra, Indonesia. It was a year ago that a massive earthquake hit this region, claiming over 1,000 lives and destroying homes and infrastructure. Joining us now on the panel is PATRA RINA DEWI from KOGAMI, a local NGO dealing with disaster preparedness. Also on the panel is SUGIMIN PRANOTO from the National Board for Disaster Management here in Padang. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. Pak Sugimin, if I can start with you, let's talk about the recovery of Padang and Western Sumatra. Has this region fully recovered a year on from the natural disaster?
Not yet, because we have developed we call a 2 years action plan. So it is still 1 year. So 1 year's implementation regarding the housing improvement. And the next year will be emphasized on the infrastructure development.
Patra, are you happy with the government efforts in terms of recovery for this region?
I think the government already trying to do their effort, but we have to admit that we have lack of facility. Like this, you see the rubble, we don't have enough equipment, like heavy equipment, so nothing can be faster.
Now, President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono has called for stricter regulations when it comes to building. How do you monitor those regulations?
Actually, the local government has certain regulation mainly for the building codes. Yeah? But the question is, sometimes the contractors build the building, the control of the building improvement is not so enough. So that's why sometimes the construction is not fixed with the building code. But actually we have building codes and building permit.
Well, Patra, if that's the case, then how do you ensure that people actually stick to these building codes, that they stick to these standards?
People know that they have to obey to the regulation, but if there is no control, so you can do everything you want. Like if I have a house, I want to develop my house, so no control me. There is no one controlling me, so I can develop anyone.
No, actually not like that. Yeah.
Who controls then? I mean, who is the one who's supposed to enforce these controls, these regulations?
Yeah.
Why isn't the local government looking after this?
Yeah, actually the local government has we call Dinas Human Settlement Office. His office responsible to control all the building construction. But for the people house community improvement, I think it's a little bit different. It does not belong to the Office of Human Settlement responsibility.
So you're saying that bureaucracy basically is stopping people from living in safe houses?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Patra, if that's the case, how do you think this can be overcome? How can this problem be overcome?
Government has to make really good regulation, not only regulation. They have to have responsibility to control everything. We make the regulation to make people understand. But then if people has opportunity to break the regulation, so who will be responsible? Again, back to the government.
Now, experts have been predicting that another major earthquake will hit this region at any time now. Pak Sugimin, if I can ask you this question, do you think the community is now better prepared to deal with a natural disaster compared to a year ago?
Yes, I thought that the people and community now are fully aware about the disaster preparedness, because they
may be fully aware, but are they prepared? Do they know what to do? Do they know where to go?
Yeah, because so far the government has been provide training activities, disseminating the again the disaster threat, and then also we provide the kind of training modular. And then also sometimes we provide curricula in the university and private school. It is
there's a lot of training and there's a lot of curriculum,
yeah,
and a lot of information that's going out
yes,
there.
That's right.
But is it being soaked up? Is it being accepted? Is it being implemented?
Yeah, it is. I think not. It is should be not monitored actually. Yeah, but government
Whose responsibility is it to monitor that this information is being implemented?
Government, local government meaning the kabupaten or district level and city level responsible to monitor how far the community already aware about the disaster preparedness. But so far, local government have been provided the activities dealing with disaster preparedness, like establishing the early warning system and providing the information through media. Then also we create the new technology to build buildings in order to save the earthquake.
Patra, it seems that there's a lot of information that's out there. There's a lot of courses that people can definitely take to prepare themselves for the next natural disaster. But is that information going down to the right people? Will the community be prepared for the next natural disaster?
Actually, talking about disaster preparedness is not that as simple as that. You know, if you just give information, short information to the people, people won't understand. Even though you already installed the early warning, but if you don't come to the community and explain to them how the mechanism and how they should respond, the people don't understand. So we have to come to the community, assist them at least 6 months. But up to now, I don't see that activities from the government initiative.
Are you saying then that millions of dollars have been spent since the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami? Millions of dollars, billions of dollars have been spent to try and prepare communities for the next natural disaster, but they're not prepared.
We can say that community now has knowledge, but not all of them know how to do the appropriate response. Because they know that we already have technology, we already have, warning system installed, but they don't know exactly how to respond and where to go. Because a different area has different route, so they have to train, they have to try to test the route, but not all the community in Padang do that kind of simulation yet.
We're talking about local community here, but what about emergency response teams? How prepared are they when it comes to actually responding to emergencies? Pak Sugimi?
Yeah, sometimes coordination in place, yeah, is a little bit problem. But actually, this is belong to the central level and regional level government.
Again, it seems like bureaucracy seems to be getting in the way of saving people's lives. Patra, would you agree with that?
And also we have obstacle, you know, like we just established our emergency management office in Padang City like 1 year. So everything new. This is the obstacle, you know. So we cannot say that SOP is already in place. So
it seems
how to implement it?
Well, it seems then that if experts are right, and if another natural disaster was to strike this particular region, this region would not be prepared for it.
Yeah, maybe 30%.
Only 30%. So you're expecting more fatalities then?
No, actually, to make community realize, make community aware, it is not so easy. We have to provide information many times to them.
With Indonesia experiencing natural disasters pretty much every year, why do you think Indonesia is not leading the world when it comes to emergency response and relief?
Because we just shift our paradigm from emergency response to disaster management holistic, like before, then during emergency and after emergency. So we just learn about that. But then sometimes for NGO, we are a bit frustrated, you know, because if we have lack of support and commitment from the government, so we cannot do anything because they have authority. Like KOGAMI, for example, already tried to help the government to make curriculum for school. But now, just to sign the legalization, we need to wait until 1.5 years, you know.
Are you then saying that despite Indonesia being on the Pacific Rim of fire, the Indonesian government is not putting disaster preparedness as a priority?
Yeah.
No, I think it is not so true. Actually, the government paying attention to the preparedness activities. Yeah.
They are?
Yeah.
But again, as you said, bureaucracy is getting in the way.
Sometime in the field level, like in case in Padang, monthly we conduct general coordinating with the line agencies, international NGOs, something like that. So actually in the level is good enough, but sometime in the center level, coordination between the line ministry concerning the budget allocation, how to coordinate, how to put the budget into the line agencies, sometime not so running well.
Actually, mostly the reason is always budget, you know. If you come to the government and they will say that we don't have any budget. So
yeah.
If they don't have budget, that means they don't put as a main priority.
I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. And that's all the time we have for this edition of 101 East. You can always follow the program via our website, Facebook and podcast. From all the team here in Padang, Sumatra, Indonesia, thanks for watching.